Jamari Howard, 2024 guy, kind of rounding out that class. He's a 4-star corner. Do you feel good about that? And are there any developments? Can we see a commitment maybe coming soon from Jamari?
Yeah, he's already set, I think, a commitment date for November 10th, if I'm not mistaken, which is a day before, I think, the Miami game. I feel really good about where FSU sits. I've already put in an RPM pick for FSU. I feel like the connection with not only Norvell, but also Sertain, and just I started to feel kind of the really big shift of momentum when he decided not to go to a Florida game and he stayed at FSU for a game, but also stayed there for an extra day. Got around guys that he knows that are from South Florida that are already on the team. Guys like Hakeem Williams and people like that. So I think it really just solidified kind of their position, and then really him just seeing what they do with the product and how Sertain's already developed guys and the way they're used in this defense. I think gets him pretty excited. So I think there should be some good news coming in November for FSU with Jamari. I feel pretty good about where they stand. That's kind of one of the few final pieces. I think they would have to add another one, maybe a safety or another DB. But I think after Howard, they would like to add one more. But I think it's getting close to finalizing kind of what you want for that DB class.
Michael, how is O-line recruiting looking? Next year could be the first time we see what Adkins high-level recruits look like.
Yeah, I mean, I think their development's been tremendous under Alex. I mean, it's improved every year when you watch kind of the way they can run the ball, the way they can get their guys, even when they don't run the ball, they run like an extension of the run, which is screens, and kind of everyone saw that screen last week with Trey Benson. I mean, that's just the way they get their offense and how versatile they are with their offensive line is a big deal. I think the class is really good. I think it's nearly complete. I think the only probably guy left is Jason Zandamela. He's a guy that I put on my 7 targets to watch for 2025. FSU still very heavily involved there. I've heard a little bit of good stuff when it comes to kind of his interest level picking up. Before it was kind of like, hey, I'm very comfortable with USC. I'm kind of locked in and all that stuff. And then now I've heard a couple people close to him that FSU is a place that now he's kind of itching to take a look at and see and just see what they're about. So he's another one that I'm kind of keeping an eye on to see if he pops up for that FSU Miami game, because I mean, I think people forget so far back that before he committed to USC, FSU was the leader. He visited FSU like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
He's really tight with Coach Atkins, and we know they want centers bad. So, and he's a pure center. He was the guy in the spring that I heard the most that if there was a definite take that they want badly, it was Jason. So Jason's the one they wanted the most, and he kind of fits everything they want. So there's a hard push there, and certainly he's a guy that I still would keep very much in the picture. FSU, they're starting to get a little bit of momentum there, but certainly there's still work to do. You got to get him on campus, and he has not used his official visit yet up to FSU. So that's kind of, if he does visit FSU, I think it would be for an official visit. So he's a name that I don't mention 7 to watch just for nothing. There's guys, if I mention them, there's details to them of why I'm mentioning them. So he's definitely a guy that I feel a very real possibility that FSU is still very much in the picture.
Maybe things change a little bit when Lincoln Riley goes to the NFL. What do you say, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean that's for other teams to figure out, but I think it's just you watch USC. There's been some struggles when you watch that team. I mean, they pulled it out last week in the final seconds against Stanford, or not Stanford, but California. I think 50-49. So there's some problems going on there that you see. Just the body language I see, and just some had some key losses that I think might be making open his eyes. And you're seeing what FSU's doing. I think it's really certainly had a strong effect on Jason. He's always liked FSU, so this is a situation where it's a dramatic shift that,
Right.
oh, you got to show him I mean, he knows what FSU is, and he knows the need that they have for a center prospect. I said that's the number one thing that I think for this class they want to get some centers, and I think a guy like Ty Hilton can play there, and certainly Jonathan Daniels can play there if they need to, but I think they want centers in this class, and Jason was the number one guy they wanted at center. So I think that's definitely a guy that they're pushing extremely hard for.
Tom is wondering about centers. Is there anyone there looking at that you would consider a true center? Well, you mentioned Jason. Is there
Yeah,
anyone else maybe?
Jason would be the main, like for sure, true center. If you talk about that true center position, that's what he plays. It does it all the time. As far as guys on the team, I'm not sure, but guys in the class, I would say Ty Hilton or Jason if you're able to pour him. There's other guys that can play it, but as far as a true center, Jason would be your guy, and so I think he would be the perfect scenario, and certainly finish off what is already an extremely good class. You have Jaden Dodd, you have Jonathan Daniels, you have Ty Hilton, who I've already covered, Manisa ITT from California that they like a lot at tackle. So it's a great class already, and Jason would just put an exclamation point on it if they could pull that off.
We've been largely positive so far on the show, so we gotta slip a little negative question in there. Is there
Okay.
any 2024 commits that you're feeling a little shaky on? They might flip to another school.
Not yet. I mean, I want to tell you guys like, oh yeah, I'm really really concerned about this guy, but there's nobody that like I'm like high alert concerned with. I think early in the year it was kind of I was a little concerned just with BJ Gibson, not because he didn't love FSU, but it's kind of like if they get too many receivers, that might push him away or not that FSU would cool him. FSU loves him. It's just sometimes kids want to be the guy. But I that got lesser and lesser during the year. I think certainly Lawayne McCoy was one early, but I still feel very strong about that one. So I don't think there's any guy that I think would just flip away or go somewhere that I think is a definite. I think all of them are pretty strong with how they feel about FSU at now. I mean, now could that change? Maybe if depending on what additions they get, that could affect somebody. But I haven't heard anything that leads me to believe that there's like a player I'm thinking of that I'm concerned about. At least not right now.
Tony says, "Is that Jeremiah Smith's official visit? You're expecting him to be on campus for several days, Michael,
Yeah,
right?"
yeah, that's an unofficial visit, Tony. His official visit will be later in probably November, or right before the final cutoff. As far as when they early signed, but I think he that will be his unofficial visit, and then he will take an official later in November to FSU. So that's going to be an unofficial visit for Jeremiah.
Have you heard anything? Any new developments? I know Jeremiah's taken a lot of visits. Obviously, you can do that. He seems to like Florida State, though. He's visited Tallahassee several times. Michael.
Yeah, I don't think a ton has changed except for just his consistency of how he feels about this FSU offense, how he likes it. He called Mike Norvell probably the best coach in college football, which I thought
Mhm.
was raised my eyebrows just because, and he doubled down on that when I
Yeah.
actually went to Chaminade's game one time, and so I think that's interesting. It tells you kind of his feelings about what the coaching staff is, so it isn't like a feel it out process. So he definitely likes him a lot, but he also definitely likes Ohio State. Certainly the situation with Brian Hartline, if he leaves or if he doesn't leave, gets a head coaching job, that will, I think, dramatically affect kind of my feelings on this recruitment. I think it shifts big for me towards FSU, but I don't think there's a ton of like movement when it comes to kind of what he's recruiting. I think it's kind of similar to what I've had it before. He's visiting Florida, I think this weekend. Then he's going to be at Florida State next weekend, and then probably take some official visits, but I don't think there's anything dramatically changed. I still think it won't be the easiest pull because he's been committed to Ohio State for a while, but there's something about FSU that extremely intrigues him. Whether it's the when he's around the players, what it's the what he sees out of the wide receiver room, the development. He certainly loves what they're doing with Keon Coleman. He calls Keon the best receiver in the country. So I think there's a lot of things that are certainly positives. It won't be an easy flip, but I think they're trending in a good direction as far as I guess how they feel about it going into these visits. But still certainly a good portion of work to do, but certainly very much in the picture. And like I said, if he flipped, I think it would be to FSU. I think Florida's in there. I think Miami and a few other schools are in there, but I think the main ones are Florida and Florida State, and I think Florida State would be the team if I was picking. If he flipped, I think it would be to FSU.
So what you're saying is we need to start putting Brian Hartline out there. If you're an AD listening, go ahead and hire Brian. That'd be a great fit for your
That would
program.
help. That would help a lot.